Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of X4 the Economy Campaign. And there's a couple of things I want to address today on today's episode. But first of all, let's get ourselves set up with what we've already got. And then we'll go into a little bit of detail about a few other bits and bobs. Now, one of the things I wanted to comment on was that we actually we've put a few ships on these that we had building already, just while they were ticking over, whilst I was waiting for everything to get built ready for this episode, so that they could actually start trading a few things. And the likelihood is they probably haven't traded much, but they will have done a little bit, so that helps us on the old treasury, the finances. As you can see, we're sat at about 43 million, which is good considering we haven't really taken anything out of these yet, so that's a good start. Now we've got our random, I can't remember how this fleet's been merged together, but it's wandering around doing its business. Now I think because I set them all to do the same thing, they may have all merged together, but that's not a problem. They've been working. We've come under attack a couple of times, and as I say, I wasn't too worried about them. There were small ships just to get things rolling, really, just to keep the finances rolling. And you'll see they'll be wandering around here, there, and everywhere. They're also helping us with our faction reputation, which for this type of gameplay is a little bit more important, because the end goal is to be able to do everything and be able to sell everything. And then what we'll do is we'll start looking at being able to produce our own fleet. Basically we'll just be able to just roll out ships and whatnot at the end and wipe out the entire system if we want. Or we can call it quits when we're turning over a certain amount of money. But there's a couple of end goals that we can have there. And hopefully we can see a little bit more of the system as well. You'll notice that we've got a little bit less showing than what we do on the war campaign. However, that being said, let's get into the start of today. First of all, let's get to all of our systems, so our stations. Let's collect all the credits that we've got. Some of them have got quite a bit of money. Now, that food ration factory has nothing on it yet. Main energy still providing energy credits for everything else. Headquarters has nothing. Trading station has nothing. Water refinery, 2.2 million again. Meat factory, not doing greatest yet. As a matter of fact, you need that money, so you're not doing anything yet. Okay, you've got nothing on. Spice, wheat, and need credits rather than taking it away. And our ore refinery, 9.4 million for that ore refinery. Got about 5 million out of that. Excellent. That was our original one, which obviously we've used in the war campaign as our shipbuilding. Nice. Look like we actually lost a station whilst I was kind of okay. We have lost a station. Okay, so I left this to tick over whilst I was doing some other stuff, and that's where our fleet of 10 have come from now. That works. That makes more sense. So we lost our Napoleon's fortune mix-up station. It's a shame, but looks like these are, yeah, these are still doing stuff. So I mean, the ships are still busy, so they'll start working on, you know, the faction reputation. Hopefully, that's not a problem. Money lost, but you know what it is. We weren't too happy with that station anyway, so no loss there. Okay, right. So one thing we needed to work on was our food ration factory. As you can see, I've noted as you see because it's still got stuff done. So let's head into our plan build. Now I have already pre-tested this out. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm just going to place them here, like so. I'm going to place 2 for now because remember we haven't got a good flow of systems yet. So if we start putting loads on this, we're going to end up paying more for the expansion than what we actually need. The ships should be able to come in from the majority of the areas. That's nice and compact. And the only thing we need for it is a large container, which we can place somewhere. Go ahead and show on other module. Let's put a vertical. I'm going to put it underneath. Just gonna. I'm going to put a cross section in. And put container there, which shouldn't interrupt large ships. Nice and compact system that. It's not what I want in the end. Most of these designs I've done at the moment are just basic designs just to save on space mainly and just to get them going. Okay, right, let's assign ourselves a builder. Okay, you'll do. Select you. Resources need buy offers. There we go. Let's accept 2.6 million required. Confirm module changes. That is done. So what we can now do is we can change that usage off. Go. Black hole Ration factory. Now, someone commented on one of my videos. Actually, I've had a couple of comments on my videos on how to work out what stations need when you come to building stations. Now, that all depends on whether or not you've got a goal in mind. Now, if you're just looking at making money, then I'd probably suggest something along the lines of this, where you've got your food rations or ore. Ore is a good one. So, you want to get your ore going, you're only going to need one line of production. What I mean by that is if we go to our ore refinery, go to our logical overview, you see we need energy cells and we need ore. And it produces refined metals. Refined metals is a form of next layer for other stuff. But you don't necessarily need to do that next layer. You can sell the refined metals, which is pretty much what we're doing now. Now we have got quite a low limit on how much we're getting in of ore. But you can see the majority of the time it does actually have something left in it. It looks like it is going over the next production cycle. Oh, it's just run out now, so only one of the 8 are going. So there is a strong argument to say we could get another large miner in there. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what we're going to do once I finish this discussion. So there you can see is the requirements. It's for somebody who doesn't look at this all day, it can sometimes be a little bit daunting. But always remember there's a set layer. There's always a requirement, the production itself, and then the basically what it produces. And it can have multiple layers, which we've seen on the economics there, sorry, on the war side of things, where the shipbuilding factory has multiple layers of production. Because obviously in any kind of production, you're going to need multiple things needed. So, you know, metals get turned into hull parts, and hull parts get turned into ship's hulls. Now, it's got multiple layers. So if you're struggling to figure out what to build, this is what I suggest you do. So let's have a look at well, we've got 49 million. So let's go to our representative. So if you ever want to build something, then go to your representative first. You can talk to your representative. Like to buy a blueprint as usual, and then modules. Modules is always where it is. Depending on the style of module you want will depend on which faction you go to. Each faction's the main factions, so the Argon, the Paranids, you know, they have a similar design. The Holy God or whatever you want to call them. They all have a base design, so I think there's like 2 factions to kind of style. Once you've decided that, you already get the 3-tier dock for Argon anyway, so you can just use that, or you can choose to use your faction's design. And the better one is the E dock rather than the T dock. Unfortunately, Argon doesn't have the T dock, but the E dock is much better for space. Or you can get the 1 dock pier, and then you can have multiple docks placed around. It's a little bit more flexible, but the T dock does kind of take a lot of space up, but you know, you kind of work with what you've got, so we'll carry on with the T pier. Next thing you want to decide is what you actually want to build. There's an argument to say things that cost more to buy then sell for more. However, there's also sometimes less demand for it. You can sometimes make more money from selling metals than you can from selling something further up, like a ship, because you've got factions building their own ships, but they need the metals and they can't supply the metals sometimes. So just bear that in mind. But what I'd always suggest is picking something that you are comfortable picking with or want to pick. So let's say, for example, now again, all of these things will have their own like pre-production and stuff like that, but don't worry about that right now. So let's have a look at what we've got. So we want something that's a decent price. Habitats will increase the performance of them, so don't worry about them too much at the moment. Claytronics is a good choice because we use Claytronics most of the time, so that might be something worthwhile because that'll help us in the long run. So your three main ones to build stations: Claytronics, hulls, and energy cells. Always, always, always them three. The only time that changes is when you start using loadouts to place turrets onto your systems, onto your stations, which we won't worry about too much at the moment because in theory we shouldn't be at war too much. And now I know we've had a little bit of a problem with the Ministry of Finance, but hopefully through trade we'll resolve that. But let's pick Claytronics for now. Right now that's all you need to do. Confirm that.
Good luck out there.
As long as you've obviously got some form of storage, which you don't particularly need at this stage either, but it's just a little bit helpful. Right, now since we've got second contact where we've got the main kind of production for our food rations, I want to kind of spread myself out a little bit so then we've got a bit of a flow of traffic. Since we're having problems with the Ministry of Finance, let's actually build a station in here and hope to hell that they don't attack it too much where we can actually start trading with them. So make sure you click on the hexagon, 18 billion. If you're struggling to work out if you have clicked it, just click one of the stations. Then when you press the manage plots, it'll have it highlighted for you. It's a little bit strange when it does this system, but it is what it is. Now you can see from this the kind of layout of the system. You can see that it's got a resource patch which goes all the way around here. You can see other stations, and if you try building in an area where you can't see and there is a station there, it'll flag up like so. One there. Let's get a 4x4. Same as we normally do. And we'll create a plot. So it's an 8x8x8. It's a good size. Let's have a look. Where's our jump gates? There's our jump gate. One there and one here. So let's go ahead and place it. Let's place it in the middle of the system. Okay. Usual license. Make sure you purchase the license so that we don't get it blown up. And we lose more reputation at the same time. So if we now hit continue, we get our build area. Just as we always have done. You can see here, this is what is actually needed for every station. You'll never need anything else. It has a list already there set for you. There's the Claytronics we mentioned before, the whole parts we mentioned before, and we've also got the energy cells. On top of that, you've got field coils, shield, turret, and advanced electronics. Them four you get when you start placing things like turrets. Now, somebody asked me and said, what the hell do I need for my station to build something? So we've chosen Claytronics. Before you do anything at all, place Claytronics down. It's not going to do anything. It'll tell you how much it needs. It'll tell you haven't got a builder. It'll tell you haven't got a dock. We don't need to worry about that. From this point here, we can switch to the logical station overview. And straight away, it tells you exactly what you need for your station. The end goal is Claytronics, which is here on the right hand side. Our pre-production is here on the left hand side. To produce Claytronics, we need antimatter cells, energy cells, microchips, and quantum chips, and a workforce to increase its productivity. We already have energy cells because we know that because we have the energy cells. As it is, you don't need anything else for production at all. You can go ahead, build your dock, build your storage, and then you will produce Claytronics. It will cost you more because you're purchasing these items here. And if we don't restrict the energy cells, it'll also purchase the energy cells. But if you want to start off kind of working out what you need for your stations, then I suggest picking an end goal. And if you're wondering what the end goal is, then the only way to do that is basically build something like a shipyard, which will cost you about 122 million, I think it is, for the small shipyards. So that's a lot of credits to earn. So don't aim for that because that'll take you quite a long time. Pick something that is going to be needed. What I can say to you is Claytronics is quite an expensive one. It's quite a good one. If you are struggling to think about what you may need, that, you know, that's kind of end of the line kind of thing, what you can do is you can take time going around in your ships and scanning stations. What do I mean by that? Well, let's go ahead and before we do that, let me just point out how you're going to know about what storage you need. If you break down these, storage type container, container, and container. Tells you straight away. So if you were doing this where you were providing it with the requirements it has to then produce your Claytronics, which we've done that because we've broken down each individual one with the food rations, that's all you need to do. Just look into these and it'll tell you. So all we need for this station is basically our Claytronics factories. Let's go ahead and do it now before we move over to what I was just discussing. I'm going to place my dock in the corner like I usually do. Again, what I'll probably do long term is I may actually remove the docks that I've got and place them with newer docks. And then someone actually commented on, now I usually put it there. Someone commented on using the underside and above. Can do, as I say, completely up to you how you want to do it. There is no right or wrong way of how you do your station, because as I've mentioned to you in the past, if you place it above like so, and I use a cross section to do that, you move it, let's mean you move it there, you are saving yourself a little bit of space. Obviously the ships will come into that from the top and just land on top of it, and then you can then go underneath. That a little too far. Turns red, it'll take as usual, and then you can rotate this. So now obviously I've only got the single dock, the single connector. Can snap can be a little annoying sometimes. Snap over snap. I want it so that the green line appears, because then it'll snap. You can do that, and then, you know, or you can remove these two. So move. You can also place a large container slot on top of it like that. And then I've got my Claytronics to put on top. So if we go ahead, cross connector on, cross connector there, Claytronics there. You see, my stipulation is to not have it connecting other stations. In theory, that doesn't. Well, it may touch, but we can just rotate it. So this is the most compact I've probably made something. And ships shouldn't get blocked by it. That's the only downside you have with stations that are quite big, but are also quite busy, is that ships sometimes fly through them. But the way that the game plays, that if a ship gets stuck, if you're not in the system, ship will actually push through it. And more often than not, an AI will push through anyway. I've had it where I've been inside a ship and it's pushed through a building. So don't worry too much. It does delay stuff a little bit, but on the grand scheme of things, it's not going to make that much of a difference, especially with how busy our stations are going to be. Okay, so again, we've got everything set up here. As I said to you, Claytronics, energy cells, and hull parts are the only things that are required. So you already have your list of end products to build other stations. So the likelihood is these three items here are going to be the highest in demand. And Claytronics are the most expensive, but also are the least required. Hull parts are required more. So sometimes it's worthwhile just doing something like this and seeing actually hull parts might have been the better option in the long run. However, you know, Claytronics is also good money for us. As I said, this is pretty much as compact as I'm going to get it. I've always stated, play it how you want to play it, design how you want to design, lay out how you want to lay out. Everybody has a different idea on what's the most productive way of laying out a certain thing. This isn't the most effective. It isn't the most efficient either. However, I kind of don't like how compact it is. But I wanted to show that there is ways you can do stuff like this that makes it easier for you. One thing I want to point out for those who are struggling with station building, is try not to rotate the station in an opposite direction to how it is default. From the top down, when you're moving stuff around, it moves how it naturally would. If you go like so, it has a habit of not placing as good. Actually, this is not too bad this time. I try and... That one's proving me wrong, but you've seen in previous videos that sometimes it does make it a little bit hard to move. Now, I don't know if they've actually fixed that. They may have fixed that in one of the updates, but I've not noticed it yet. So yeah, so that's the station. That's how you build one. That's how you find out what you need for it. Your logical station overview is your friend. Always remember to accept the estimated price to buy resources if you want it to be efficiently built. If you then want to save money, you can restrict things like our energy cells, because we know we have energy cells ourselves. If you don't have that, then just leave it as is. Always remember to assign your assign your builder, hire a builder. If you already have a builder yourself, that's where you would then assign it. We don't. Do not forget to then confirm your module changes. You come out of that, you will lose your module changes, and then you have to do it all again. Okay. You can also check again if you need to. This station-wide module loadout is where I was discussing where you then start using energy cells. Other things other than energy cells, electronics, and hull parts. That's where your turrets and stuff like that is. We're not going to deal with that. If you want to pull, just before we go back into the scanning thing I was on about, if you want to build multiples of the same station, but you don't want it where you've got one station doing 10 hull parts, you'd either have a smaller, like a 2x2 station, doing one hull part but multiples of it. You can actually save the construction plan, and then you can either import a construction plan from your folder that you've got in game. That's where people can download the plans online, and obviously you can also export. So if your friend's got a design that you want to copy, vice versa, you can also shuffle it as well. So another thing you can do is you can actually just whack everything in. But we've got everything in there. You don't have to connect it all. If there's enough connection points, it will do it. And you can reset that to the top view, whoop, like so. That's just what they are. Your load plan, again, is defenses. You can name it from here as well. But let's go ahead whilst we're in here. Let's 18 billion play Ronix. Have I spelled Ronix? I spelled it right. It's also renamed now, so we don't have to worry about going into the information and changing that. Right, so everything's set and good to go as far as the station building is concerned. As you can see, we've got a lot of our own ships coming in, providing resources. No, it's not. Sorry, that was new ships. We haven't got any of our own ships. No, none of our own. That was just all new ones. So that's the basics of figuring out how to build your station, what your station requires, and then obviously a bit of a loadout plan. I know we've gone over it before, but it's just a good idea to be reminded of it. And also some people have asked about it as well. So I figured I'd do it a little bit more in depth in that terms. If there's something I haven't covered here and you'd like to know a little bit more about, please feel free to message me. Even if it's in frustration, don't worry about it. You know, I get that this game's quite frustrating, but, you know, I will get back to you with as much information as I can. I'm not an expert. I just pick up on a lot of things by playing it for so long, and also what other people obviously tell me. So even if you think what I'm doing is wrong, you know, I had somebody argue over me the design of my station before he actually pointed out himself. You know, people play their own style, which is exactly what I always say. Always play your own style. There's no point copying my ship designs or station designs, because it suits my play style. It might not suit your own. And then you'll struggle later down the line trying to play something that you don't particularly understand or may struggle with. Sometimes it may work for you. It all depends on how you want to be comfortable playing it. So don't always listen to how people tell you to lay out your stations. And this game has a way of making things that's optimized, not quite so optimized. A little bit frustrating at times. But as you can see, now the only downside to this compact thing is everything's going to be into that large container. So let's hope it can hold everything. So we're not going to get a particular large amount of stuff coming out of this station, really. We can work on that later. Right now, we've got it up and running in terms of design. That's all we need. The last thing I want to go on to you about is learning a little bit more about a station. So I'll be right back, where I'm going to get into a ship and I'm going to go through a couple of... And welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to where we are outside a station that I'm going to show you how we can learn a little bit more. So rather than having to go and buying the blueprints, you might want to be thinking, what blueprints do I need to buy? If you don't want to go down the path where I showed you, where you just pick something and then go and reverse engineer it, so to speak, we can actually reverse engineer a pre-built station. Now there's a couple of things you can do. First one, if you're on your map, you're thinking, how does this actually look? Well, you get an outline of it on your map. If you still want to know more, you can actually get an external view of it. You close your map, you can see there's your external view. And to pan around it, it's your num key. If you don't have a numpad, so it's like, you know, your little arrows. But basically, every direction is the outer section. The middle button puts it back to default. If you don't have a numpad, then you'll have to double check what your controls are in the settings to either reassign it or whatnot. But you can see the design of a station right here. You can see it's got a habitat, it's got its weapon production facility, it's got a dock, and then all it's got on top of that is storage, and then the dock. Very, very compact, which is pretty cool. You know, that's probably the most efficient way you're going to get something like that. But if we then go into, like we would normally do with our stuff, right click it, go to logical overview, question marks, that's all it's full of, question marks. The only thing it tells you is workforce, because everything needs a workforce. You can kind of guess what some of these are, so you know that this is going to be rations and water and stuff like that, but you're getting no information, and that's probably what's frustrating people a lot. So if we leave this here, we go to our standard view, grab your ship, which has rotated itself whilst I was talking. Again, if you don't remember, then make sure you check out the beginner's guide, like the beginning part of it, and that'll tell you how to fly your ship around a little bit easier. If we go into the close vicinity of this station, now the only thing I don't like that I've set, that I should change really, is how it self-orientates itself to the plane. Obviously everything's built on a plane. Right, so we're close by now, so we'll just slow it down here. Right, again, I think I actually just scanned it, but the easiest way to understand whether it's done something or not is if you press shift and 2, the number 2, you go into scan mode. What I tend to do is I'll go nearby to them. You'll see it'll start scanning now. It looks like it may have already done that.
Identifying criminal vessels. Please assist in pursuit.
Just see. Scan it. There you go. So you see that purple outline? That means it's scanned it. And you'll see where it's saying information unlocked in the right hand corner. Oh, I crashed into it. I may have bought it already. A little fiddly, especially when you crash into it, because it sends your ship in weird directions. Almost ragdolls it. Head on over here. That was the weapons platform. Get to the... Oh. Scanned, 52%.
Docking granted.
You don't want to dock. Scan, 61%, so it should. Check and make sure we've got everything scanned. feeling it didn't scan the coming up as it has. Okay. Let's see what information we now have. So again, we'll go into our logical overview. And there's no more question marks. Everything's available for us now. The only thing we haven't got is the capacity for the cargo drones. We're missing something on this somewhere. Not sure exactly where, but I can fly around and find it.
Please assist
Well,
in pursuit.
realistically, we've got the information we need. Energy cells, hull parts, plasma conductors, convert into weapon components. Food rations and medical supplies is what you needed for the workforce. So there you go. There's the information you require to build a station. So another alternative to what we've done is you could literally pick any station on your map. You know, oh, that station there. I want to know how to build medical supplies, because you'll notice that they all kind of name them for the production that they do. Medical supplies 2, smart chip 2. I think they're just bigger stations. No, they're not. Sorry, they're just like a second one of the same station generally. Right click, start guidance. It'll give you a little like on where to go. Or if you're like me, you can sit back, get up,
Elite. Vanguard.
let your pilot take over, and he'll fly you to wherever you want to go. For us, that is it for this episode. There's been a lot of information. Hopefully it helps those of you who struggle to build stations. I know it can be quite a daunting thing, but you know, don't be afraid to just explore and look at these things. As I say, any questions, comments or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as best I can, or I will again do an extended version of any of my episodes to cover some things. If it's war related, we'll stick to the war side of things. If it's economy related, we'll stick to the economy side of things. Until next time everybody, take care for now. See you on the next one. Bye bye for now.